Does the Toronto Police Association and your members, sir, believe that the Prime Minister should fire the Minister of Public Safety? Yes or no?
So I don't want to weigh in on who should be fired at this time, but I definitely would want to comment.
When your officers encounter someone who's using drugs in public, you're laying a charge. What are federal prosecutors doing with those charges on simple possession?
Who's laying a charge for simple possession?
Mr. Brock, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, et merci.
Expert matters, as I like to call all three of you. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for coming as quickly as possible. This is an incredibly important study for all of Canada. In my view, it is long overdue. We are just pleased that we're finally launching it. Question to Mr. Campbell to start. The federal gun ban and confiscation scheme is an absolute disaster. Police, academics, licensed gun owners, and everyday taxpayers know that targeting lawful firearm owners won't make Canadians safe. You, sir, are on record saying, quote, "We know that the gun buyback program is going to have essentially zero impact on the crime in Toronto," end of quote. The Public Safety Minister, Gary Andasangari, certainly doesn't seem to think it'll work either. He admitted on a leaked audio recording that legal gun owners aren't causing crime and that police services likely don't have the resources to follow through on the project. Does the Toronto Police Association and your members, sir, believe that the Prime Minister should fire the Minister of Public Safety? Yes or no?
So I don't want to weigh in on who should be fired at this time, but I definitely would want to comment on the gun registry and the impacts on safety in Toronto, if that's possible.
Please.
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line, the City of Toronto is the gun buyback program would not have any impact on the violence we're seeing in the city. The violence we're seeing in relation to firearm offences is essentially exclusively to a small number of gang members, thugs using illegal firearms. Most of the time they come across the border. About 90% of the 700 illegal firearms we seized last year came across the border. And most of the time people on bail or are prohibited from using a firearm. And I can say in the City of Toronto, it's a very challenging thing when it comes to funding public safety. And I'm sure if you asked the Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow, or Chief Myron Demke of the Toronto Police Services how they could use even a fraction of the $750 million, we'd find a lot of better ways to spend that money to actually improve public safety in our great city.
Okay. I listened very carefully, sir, to the recommendations that you made to the committee in your opening statement. There is, in my view, a lot of similarity to what you are proposing to what our party has been proposing. And in fact, we've introduced a new private member's bill called the Jail Not Bail Act, and I believe you were at the press conference a few weeks ago. At the heart of that bill is to replace the so-called principle of restraint under Section 493.1 of the Criminal Code, which essentially states that judges must release the accused at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. And practically speaking, that means regardless of what the offense is, regardless of the impact that it has to the community or the victim, regardless of the criminal record, which may establish a pattern of breaching court orders or a pattern of committing the same offense over and over again, and quite frankly, regardless of the number of prior releases the person may be on, that person should be released. At the core of your recommendation, sir, do you believe the principle of restraint has to be rescinded?
Yeah, we do, and we've called for that. In the end, and I want to repeat, it is not about politics for us, but it's our members having to go see the mother of an 8-year-old just a few weeks ago that was shot and killed while sleeping in his bed beside his mother. One youth's been arrested, 2 are still outstanding. They were both on release using illegal firearms, and so something needs to change. Our members, as my friends here have talked about, are frustrated. They really are doing their best, putting their lives on the line, and something needs to change, and we need to make sure it's a small number in the city of Toronto of really violent individuals are not out there wreaking havoc on our streets every day.
For over 4 years, all three of you, as well as all other members of the police associations and services, premiers, MLAs, mayors, victim advocacy groups, have been pleading with this Liberal government under the leadership of Justin Trudeau and now under Mark Carney and all the various justice ministers to implement immediate bail reform change to keep Canadians safe. Why, in your opinions, in your collective opinions, I'd like to hear from all three of you, in your opinion, why has your pleas fallen on deaf ears by this Liberal government?
I mean, I can start with, I will say, for the first time we did meet with Sean Fraser. We met and we explained exactly the same things I'm saying today. The same information we have provided to the Conservative Party, we provided to Sean Fraser as well. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I say to anybody that's not sure what to do, come on out to a ride-along in the city of Toronto. You see some of the violence going on. You see the victimization. This is not about someone that's made a mistake or some minor criminal offenses. This is just a small number of really violent thugs and criminals that are causing all the problems in the city.
Thank you. I believe the Justice Minister needs to go on a ride-along very, very soon.
We'll take anybody anytime in the city.
Time's up, and perhaps one of the other members will allow the other two to complete their thoughts on this, but we'll turn this now over to the Liberals.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
The Liberal Bill C-75, which enshrined in the criminal code the so-called principle of restraint, that offenders have to be released at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. That went into effect a little over 6 years ago. That bill was passed. How soon after that, Mr. Stamatakis, did you start to see the effects of increased bail on less onerous conditions?
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I mean, this was an issue already, and I think the effects arguably were felt immediately, almost immediately, because for all the reasons that we've described, and I don't want to repeat them, but we do. What I would say is we need almost like a bifurcated system where I actually don't have an issue with the principle of restraint or the concept in C-75 when it comes to, a first-time offender with no history. But what we need to do is we need to find a way to treat the violent repeat offender differently.
For sure, but you're saying you can draw a direct line from that provision to these bail problems on the streets that your officers have to deal with.
Well, I think it's a little more complicated than that because we also have an underlying problem in this country with drug addiction, substance abuse. We have a huge problem in this country with a lack of support for people suffering from mental health issues. But in my view, anecdotally, based on feedback from members, experiences that I've had in my own community where I live, there's a correlation.
I'll ask you, Mr. Campbell, on that drug question. When your officers encounter someone who's using drugs in public, you're laying a charge. What are federal prosecutors doing with those charges on simple possession?
Who's laying a charge for simple possession?
So let me ask you, what do your officers do in a case like that, and why?
Most of the time, they're not doing anything. They move on to something
Sorry,
else.
your mic was off. I'll ask the question again and get you to repeat it. So when your officers come across open drug use in public, what are they doing and why?
Yeah, a lot of the times, my mic's on now, a lot of the times they're just seizing it for distraction. They may not go down the road of actually laying a charge. If it was, you'd see it withdrawn. If it's a resource issue with the federal prosecutors, I don't know, but that's generally what happens in the city right now.
And these drug charges, just for those unaware, these are federal prosecutors, the Federal Public Prosecution Service of Canada that's responsible for that.
Yeah, if you want to go again for a ride-along, you can come down into 51 Division, which is down at Regent Park, and you can see open drug use every day right in front of you, if anybody wants to come take a look at it.
So we've been talking about bail, but we're not even at the bail stage here because the federal prosecutors are deciding to not enforce the law effectively, to not apply the law.
I wouldn't want to guess on that. I can definitely get back to you with more information. I'm not sure if any of my friends would have more information on that.
I can say that was the case when I started my career over 20 years ago. The simple possession, Tom says it jokingly, but yes, in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver, we did not arrest for simple possession of Vancouver, and that's 20 years of experience there.
All of you have spoken to some degree about officers arresting people, rearresting them days, sometimes hours later. When an officer makes an arrest, my understanding is there's a risk. There's a legal risk, there's a physical risk that could go sideways. And I have heard anecdotally, but I was hoping you could shed some light on it, one of you, from officers, that there's a temptation to not expose yourself to that risk when you know that they're going to be out on bail and it will all be for nothing. So how does that affect morale of officers when they're seeing these people that they know on a first-name basis on the street, regardless of having been arrested for a very serious offense?
Yeah, I can say it impacts morale greatly. Our members in Toronto are doing their part, and they literally are risking their lives. We've seen a few years ago, we had 8 police officers, I think I'm right, Tom, killed in the line of duty in Canada. They're risking their lives to make these arrests. I'm proud of them because they still go out there every day and do their job because they care about their communities. They care about victims. But it's tough. It definitely impacts morale when you do say our gang unit does a complicated investigation, takes a long time, lots of work, lots of resources, only to see those gang members back out of custody in a matter of days.
We have some emerging research in Canada recently, and Quebec's sort of leading the way, where it's more troubling than that. It's not only demoralizing, but we're creating an environment where police officers are disengaging. They're not taking those risks. They're not being proactive and intervening when they could be because of the futility of it. It's creating a lot of challenges in our sector from a wellness, mental health, moral injury perspective.
Mr. Lawton, time.
Thank you.
MB Chang.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I want to thank all 3 of you for your attendance today. I just want to clarify something. This is our bail study. The Conservative Party advanced this bail study as priority number 1 at this Justice Committee, and it was the Conservative Party who invited all 3 of you to attend, so we're very grateful for your attendance. Now, it's amazing. This is a question to you, Mr. Campbell. It's amazing what you can find on social media. I was scrolling social media during the last half an hour or so. Yesterday, downtown Toronto, on a busy street, captured by video surveillance, is a gentleman, and I'll use the term very loosely, standing on a sidewalk, assembling what appears to be an AK-47 in broad daylight in heavy traffic. Do you think that type of person, or the gangbangers, or the thugs that are terrorizing our communities from coast to coast,
Mr. Brock,
would be...
a point of order from Mr. Chang.
Joint study.
I think you said, Mr. Brock, that it was concerned. I think it is, in fairness, a joint study. And
It's a joint study, but the bail issue was a Conservative motion,
Okay, well,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
And in fairness, there were witnesses that were brought forward that weren't solely from the Conservative list. If the clerk correctly, I have no reason to question that. 2 and 1, yeah, okay. Anyway, that is what it is, but just, we froze your time, so please go on.
My time is frozen, thank you. So you tried to ruin my clip, but we're going to get it back on track. The thug that I just described to you on a downtown Toronto street, is that the type of person or a gangbanger that would likely want to return that particular AK-47 as part of the Liberal buyback program?
No, and we've said it many times. The gun buyback program will not impact the violence we're seeing in the city of Toronto. Rediverting some of those resources would.
Thank you. I was very fortunate enough to attend TPS about 3 weeks ago this Friday, had a ride along, saw firsthand what you're describing to this committee, but I also received a number of startling statistics in terms of the number of people out on bail on murder charges and serious gun crimes. Do you have any statistics today or within the last few days to share with this committee as to the number of people in downtown Toronto on bail?
I don't, but I can get that for you, absolutely. But I do want to mention, as it came up around youth, we had over a dozen youth charged with murder this year in the city and 102 illegal firearms seized from youth in the city. I think it's an important stat.
And you have youth as young as 12 years of age on bail right now for first-degree murder. Is that correct?
We do, and it is completely common to see someone out on bail either for a previous shooting or firearm charge. It happens all the time.
Thank you. Chair.
So that's it, gang. What do you think of Brock? What do you think of Lawton? Pretty dynamic duo right there. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. We cover Canadian politics. Get your Canadian politics right here. Thank you very much for watching. This is just a view of above my house, way above my house, if we do a panoramic. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.
Hey, that's something everyone can
Canadian Looney.
enjoy.
Like, share, and subscribe.